This show is clean, pretty much.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Effizode 706. Hello, it's Mike Matthews, broadcasting from the last place on earth, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley, California. Today, Madame Rootabega, Valentino, Bison Bentley, plus it's the return of the much-missed feature News Random, where we look at some interesting recent stories in the world of entertainment. And speaking of that, hey, there's a movie they finally found a director for.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
It's a movie that's probably going to be really big, so it's probably one that you won't be able to ignore.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
But I ignore most movies that come out, so what the hell am I talking about? There is something here that makes you want to drink a stout beer, and that is Madame Rootabega got into showbiz, and she sang a song by Survivor with me, just like Chely Shoehart did.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Chely Shoehart did the same thing with me on a recent show. You should check it out. It'll make your life better.
Mike's
And Benita
Daily
sold horse perfume,
Podcast.
while the brewmaster sold long necks. Last show, it's hot today. Very hot. Not used to that here in Podcastro Valley, California. And I tried walking Basil the boxer, and he had none of it. Every bit of shade we found, he plopped right down. It was just a petulant little child. Yeah, I don't like the heat either. But what I do like is the television show Sherlock. I'm not big on the show Elementary, which is the Americanized version. I love Sherlock, though, because it is written by two guys that co-wrote a lot of Doctor Who stuff. In fact, Stephen Moffat still does Doctor Who. Mark Gatiss appeared on Doctor Who and wrote some episodes. And Sherlock is just... I'm rewatching it. There are only, to this date, 9 episodes, even though it's been around for like 5 years. And they just put everything up on Netflix, and just watching it, each episode is like 2 hours. It's 20 seconds each episode, so it's really 2 hours long, and just fantastic little movies. Really interesting little twists and turns and mystery, and everybody's got their... Oh, and the deducing, of course, that Sherlock is known for, and how he figures stuff out. And it's kind of strange, because Basil the boxer is also... Okay, you just don't have to hog up the whole show when I mention your name. I noticed when I walk him, his name is Basil, as in Basil Rathbone, who played Sherlock Holmes back in the 40s and 50s. And as I walk him down the street, I'm like, dogs. Dogs are like detectives. They're smelling this and smelling that, piecing together clues to try and recreate the dog that they're smelling or whatever strange scent they have. So fascinating, isn't it? Yes, I feel like I'm the first person that ever thought of that, but I know I am not. Look who just walked in. Hello, my goodness, this is Madame Rootabega, and I knew Sherlock Holmes very well. You did? Yes, Michael Matthews is a very nice guy, a little bit full of himself, and he liked to sometimes do strange things to me. Like what? Like hold my hand and deduce, is that how you say? Deduce, yeah. Deduce everything that I'd eaten for the past week. By holding your hand, he could figure that out? Yes, Michael Matthew. Strange. Yes. Sherlock Holmes. Well, and I've already watched all of them already, so rewatching them, you're like, Mike, you're obsessed. But no, I'm finding all this stuff. I'm like, I don't think I really watched these before, because I'm finding all this new stuff that I totally don't remember. But then again, the last time I watched them all, I was married, and I remember, like, my ex-wife distracting me while I was watching it, and I couldn't really focus. I forget what she was doing. It wasn't like she was throwing things at my head or anything. I don't know, maybe she was. I don't remember. It's hard to remember things. It's so hard to say goodbye to boys to men. Look who else just walked in.
Hello, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant.
And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that?
Mike, we once thought that we would start a detective agency day, but then we realized that we hate each other.
Yeah, spending that much time around each other, we'd get so mad, we would end up, like you said, killing each other. Like I want to kill him right now. Do you know that? Wow, you guys are full of rage.
Yeah.
Why don't you guys, spend some time apart?
No, we love each other.
Yeah, we would die without each other. Do you know that? So, the guy I had on, Hicks, on yesterday's show, and the show before that, he noticed how in Sweden, he's a country writer, he's a country singer and songwriter from Sweden, and he says, instead of other, he says utter, and instead of brother, he says brudder. And I just thought that was interesting. Do you guys do that too?
Yeah, sometimes it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, Mike, direct your attention elsewhere. Do you know that? All right, well, how about to this? And that is, Ant-Man is finally coming together. Last time we talked about Ant-Man, we talked about how the director was leaving, and that instead Marvel found a director for another movie they were going to make about the superhero Doctor Strange. But the hunt for the next Ant-Man director has finally ended. Peyton Reed has signed on. It will star, this movie, Ant-Man, will star Paul Rudd and Michael Douglas. And Adam McKay is contributing to the script. He's the guy behind movies like Anchorman, one of my favorites, Talladega Nights, the story, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby. What else? Oh, they did that movie with, it's always with Will Ferrell. They work closely together. They started Funny or Die together. Anyway, Marvel announced the news on their website yesterday. After Edgar Wright exited the project 2 weeks ago, the director cited creative differences. Reed was in the running for the position, but Wet Hot American Summer director David Wayne was also reported a contender, but then it ended up being Peyton Reed. His credits include Bring It On, Down with Love, The Breakup, and Yes Man. Uh-oh. Did anybody see any of those movies? Oh. He also developed Fantastic Four at Fox. Oh, that's probably why they've got him. Marvel described the plot for Ant-Man in its most recent statement, according to HuffingtonPost.com. And they said, quote, armed with the astonishing ability to shrink in scale but increase in strength, con man Scott Lang, played by Paul Rudd, must embrace his inner hero and help his mentor, Dr. Hank Pym, played by Michael Douglas, and protect the secret behind his spectacular Ant-Man suit from a new generation of towering threats. Against seemingly insurmountable obstacles, Pym and Lang must plan and pull off a heist that will save the world. It's supposed to come out in about a year, July 17th of next year. What do you think? Do you think it's going to be a good movie? I don't know. How about that Guardians of the Space movie, Marvel movie that's coming out? You looking forward to that? Or do you care at all about these comic book movies? Email me, mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. Also, email me there if you'd like to be a guest on the show or if you'd like to sponsor the show. And we read your comments on the section Emails for Me Mail. mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. Check out the website, MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com, with links to where to listen to the show in iTunes, subscribe to the show in iTunes, and rate and comment on the show. More people find out about it if you do that. And then there's also the Facebook page. If you like the Facebook page, when I post a new show, share that with your friends, and more people will find out about us that way, too. We're also on Twitter, Tumblr, Yelp, Mixcloud, Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher. The links to all of those there at MIKES-DAILY-PODCAST.com. And we may even have your brother or your mother at MIKES-DAILY-PODCAST.com. No, we won't have that. But we will have the Amazon deal of the day. And if you click on that and buy something, that helps us out. It's a great way to support the show. There's also the blog and the daily podcast picture, and all the fascinating people I've interviewed are all there at MIKES-DAILY-PODCAST.com.
News Random.
Hey, so here are some stories that have to do with entertainment. Some random stories of news. And we begin with...
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size.
So, what's the worst Spidey movie ever made? It's not the latest one or Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3. The prize goes to 1977's The Amazing Spider-Man, a flick shot as a TV pilot that is so awful, even Stan Lee disowned it. This according to Entertainment Weekly. The plot, well, that's the first problem. Forget teen pathos. This Peter Parker is played by Nicholas Hammond, who actually played Frederick in The Sound of Music. He plays a grad student who adapts to his new powers with a shrug and a smile, and when a new age guru uses a mind control device to turn citizens into criminals, Spidey swings slowly on what appears to be a white rope into action. The second problem with the movie is the costumes. These days you can eBay a better Spidey getup than this saggy body stocking. The street clothes are worse. Is Peter going to save the day or head to Studio 54? Then there's the villain. Thayer David of the TV show Dark Shadows plays the campy guru. He attacks by typing Peter Parker, destroy into a computer. Then there's the effects. Imagine conversation with the effects guy. What if we shoot him crawling on the ground and then put a photo of a house behind him so it looks like he's climbing up it? Director says, sounds great. And then there's the acting. David White, who played Larry Tate on Bewitched, is a charming, gruff J. Jonah Jameson, but Hammond would have needed superhuman acting chops to make the cheesy dialogue work. To a gang of deprogrammed lackeys, I've reversed the microwaves, so let's be buddies, all right? And finally, probably one of the worst things of this movie is the climax. To defeat the bad guy, Spider-Man spritzes some sad-looking webbing at the mind control antenna, and that's about it. No breakneck hand-to-hand combat, no mega explosions, and then the martial arts henchmen, well, they just give up and walk away.
Look at them yo-yos, that's the way you do it. You play the guitar on the MTV. That ain't working, that's the way you do it. Money for nothing and your chicks for free.
At Coachella back in April, you could have watched bands like Arcade Fire and Outkast while standing in a huge field amid thousands of music fans. Or you could have paid $3,250 to get shuttled to the side of the stage from the nearby air-conditioned safari tent, which has a couch with throw pillows, wooden flooring, a queen-sized bed, and electrical outlets, this according to Rolling Stone. You'd be able to drink from a private bar, use a private restroom, swim in a private pool, and get advice on the next band to check out from a personal concierge. Wow. There's a lot of, fake VIP room bull bleep happening at this festival, said Win Butler of Arcade Fire to the crowd during his band's set. He said, sometimes people dream about getting into places like that. It super sucks in there, so don't worry about it, he said to the crowd. I love him. And I actually kind of met him. I met a girl who actually met him at a bar in that was close to Coachella. She didn't even realize she was talking to him. She went to Coachella to spend time at a hotel. She was not interested in going to Coachella. But at the bar, she meets him from Arcade Fire, Win from Arcade Fire, and then, well, he invites her to the show, and she got to go for free. So that's the complete opposite of what this is. It's just one example of music festivals catering more and more to rock's 1%. At Bonnaroo, well-off fans can opt for the Rock Like a Rock Star package, which for $30,000 per group gets you a bunk in an air-conditioned tour bus and 3 gourmet meals a day. Marketers say they work hard to design high-end experiences that avoid the appearance of dividing the grounds into social classes. Lollapalooza recently replaced its large stage-side cabanas with less conspicuous Lolla lounges scattered throughout Chicago's Grant Park. As music sales continue to plummet, VIP sections have become accepted as necessity by many artists and managers. Festivals are a huge risk to put on, says Buck Williams for Widespread Panic. He's the agent for them. He says selling off sponsorships or VIPs is a way to get through. Still, some festivals, including the Warped Tour and Wilco's Solid Sound Fest, get by without selling any VIP tickets. The Daily Show. Among the fake news team on The Daily Show, Samantha Bee, who is 44, is the fakest of all. Her usual persona is a mean, short-tempered, entitled diva who breaks into teenage sarcasm when annoyed. Well, she studied drama at the University of Ottawa with aspirations to perform Shakespeare, and she brings a ludicrous self-seriousness to the show. In January, she delivered perhaps her greatest bit yet, a surreal 7-minute fake tribute to the Fox News show The Five. In a black leotard with stark lighting, Bee mixed pretentious one-woman show in Toledo poses, several props, melodramatic pauses, and the magnificent phrase, "Riding the boner train to Pound Town." The website Business Insider deemed her performance dazzling, bizarre, insane, and the Washington Post, it was informative, but also sensual, but also terrifying in a black swan sort of way, they said. Samantha Bee has been at The Daily Show longer than any other correspondent, having first appeared alongside Jon Stewart in 2003. According to Rolling Stone magazine, Jon Stewart says Sam actually cares. She gets really invested in her pieces, and that translates on camera. And what did Jon Stewart give her to celebrate her recent 10th anniversary at the show? He says, "I gave her what I give her every year, an overly dramatic plea to never leave, and some dishware." In a small office, which looks out onto a brick wall, Samantha Bee, easygoing, petite, and surprisingly stylish, points to a pair of noise-canceling headphones on Jason Jones's desk. He is also a Daily Show correspondent and is her husband. She says when he puts on those headphones, the message is, "Please shut up." She says sometimes he leaves work 10 minutes after I do, just so he can walk home separately. He joined this great gym, and I was like, I want to join that gym. I want to do those fun exercises. He said, "Don't you dare. You're not allowed to join my gym." We enjoy each other's company, but I get it. It's possible to see too much of another person. When Samantha Bee joined The Daily Show, she was already married to Jones, a fellow Canadian, who joined the show in 2005. They met while both were performing bottom-of-the-barrel children's theater. She was on the verge of giving up acting before Daily Show scouts came to Toronto, specifically looking to hire a woman. "If not for this job," she says, "I'd probably be a farmer. I'd be making artisanal pickles somewhere in God's country." Jon Stewart's overly dramatic pleas have worked. Bee doesn't even seem interested in leaving. Other Daily Show stalwarts have moved on to Hollywood stardom, like Steve Carell and Ed Helms. Others have their own shows like Stephen Colbert and John Oliver, or in lesser cases, insurance ads like Bob Wiltfong. But Samantha Bee doesn't covet a bigger job. She says, "I cannot stress this enough. I have 3 little kids at home. This show has made my big family and my life here in New York possible." She's had small roles in a few films, and in 2010, she published a book of essays called I Know I Am, But What Are You? She's an only child. Her mom was a Wiccan, worked for the government, and dad is a technical writer. And she says her babysitter was The Price is Right and a playpen. When she was 7, her mother gave her an encyclopedia of sexual terms. She says it was not like reading The Joy of Sex. It was a list of all the different things you could do sexually. She says, "It was mind-blowing, but I had so many questions."
Souls that cry for water,
Okay, water doesn't have to do with entertainment in that, well, actually it does, because the people that entertain you need water in order to live. So, with that transition, the town of Byron, located in the southern portion of the Sacramento-San Joaquin River Delta, has 1,000 people, and it's next to the epicenter of California's water system. Just outside the town's city limits is the C.W. Bill Jones pumping plant, a feat of engineering that propels trillions of gallons of delta water into aqueducts that irrigate more than 3 million acres of the San Joaquin Valley. Also close is the Clifton Court Forebay, a massive reservoir that stores fresh water for 25 million Southern Californians. If the state were a living animal, the immense facilities in and around Byron would be its heart. Without them, water would stop flowing. The town and the state's water infrastructure have peacefully coexisted for decades, but that could change dramatically if California moves forward with Governor Jerry Brown's Bay Delta Conservation Plan, or BDCP. The $25 billion public works project includes 2 giant water tunnels that would tap into the Sacramento River and ship its waters south. The plan, which also calls for the creation of more than 100,000 acres of wetlands in the region, is designed to address a myriad of problems plaguing both the Delta and the state's water system as well. The Delta's ecosystem has been an environmental free fall since the state and federal water projects were completed in the 1960s and early 70s, according to EastBayExpress.com. Since then, fish species have gone extinct, and geologists now worry that an earthquake or rising sea levels could topple levees in the area and contaminate the state's fresh water supply with salt water. In addition, state and federal officials often must halt water deliveries to agricultural interests and Southern California residents in order to protect fish that have been decimated because of the lack of fresh water. The BDCP, in theory, would solve these problems while ensuring that farms and residents receive a more consistent supply of water. The town of Byron, though, could be severely impacted. The state plans to construct a new water forebay near town, as well as a cement mixing facility in addition to the tunnels. Both would require a massive fleet of heavy machinery that would operate for up to 10 years, causing noise pollution and potentially filling the region's air with diesel particulates. Air quality could become so bad that being outside would pose a cancer risk to children and the elderly, along with people with existing health problems. Most of the snowmelt and rainfall in the Sierra Nevada and the Trinity Alps drain into the Delta via the Sacramento River in the north and San Joaquin River in the south, creating a labyrinth of waterways, islands, and levees. This veritable water world has made the Delta an ecological and agricultural wonder. The estuary is a crucial spawning ground for salmon, sturgeon, and bass, and a key stopover for millions of migratory birds traveling the Pacific Flyway. The Delta itself also includes an agricultural industry consisting primarily of small farms, valued at nearly $800 million a year. Certain Delta towns are known as the pear or asparagus capitals of the world, thanks to their continuously replenished aquifers. The abundance of fresh water has also made the Delta the wellspring for California's water system, and since the 40s, the state and federal government have redirected rivers of water from the estuary to San Joaquin Valley growers and Southern California city dwellers. That massive removal of fresh water has taken its toll on the Delta's ecosystem, contributing to the decimation of 12 of the area's 29 native fish species. Environmental problems in the Delta also have a ripple effect on California's water users. When protected fish get sucked into the water pumps and pulverized, regulatory agencies halt water deliveries and send billions of gallons of fresh water through the bay to the Pacific Ocean in an attempt to maintain the health of the estuary. And if the Delta's ecosystem continues to deteriorate, the water supply for Central and Southern California could diminish by roughly 25% in the next half century. Meanwhile, opposition in the Delta is reaching a fever pitch. Signs demanding that the state stop the tunnels and save our Delta blanket roads and highways. Protesters rally at the Department of Water Resources meetings, and some residents want to put the project on a referendum ballot. The tunnel's plan, though, was crafted so that it would be very difficult to place it on a ballot. The Jerry Brown Tunnels plan, along with the high-speed rail plan, both a bone of contention amongst the citizens of California.
With water, then can you see that?
As we go outside of the last place on earth where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, California.
And here's today's podcast picture.
As I mentioned earlier, the show can be heard on the Stitcher Smart Radio app for your smartphone. And in fact, there is a picture of me. I was actually at their studios. And they are very nice there. And they were like, hey, Mike, that's really cool. You do a podcast every day. And I'm like, I do a podcast every day. Thus the name, Mike's Daily Podcast. Just ignore those once in a while days that I do take off. But hey, I do pretty much stick to a regime of some sort. And by regime, I mean I floss my teeth and brush them. See that picture at MikesDailyPodcast.com of me brushing my teeth and flossing them. You'll really enjoy that picture. I mean of me being at the Stitcher studio. Mike and Matthew, I want to go to the Stitcher studio. So next time that you go, bring me. All right. Well, they said that I could bring whoever and record an interview in their studio anytime. So, yeah, anybody, if you want to do that, email me, mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. It's the name of the show, and then at gmail.com, because they're like the biggest email peoples in the world. It's kind of scary. Oh, and I just watched that show, what's it called? The Silicon Valley. The first episode, I watched that, and it's very funny. And this is our society. Not too far from where I live here, there are loads and loads of young men that are just like this, that are geniuses, putting together code and fighting to make as much money as possible. 17 billion. Is that what they're saying about Uber? Whatever. What the hell does Uber do, Madame Rootabega? Michael Master, I don't think that. I think that's an app for getting a car. Oh. Why would you want to do that? I don't know. Have they invented taxis yet? I think so. Makes you wonder. Well, the next show, we're going to have a very special group called the JOE BAER MAGNANT GROUP. And they are a fantastic jazz quartet. They're going to talk about their debut album. We'll hear some stuff off of it. Plus, we'll hear from Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, and John Deere the Engineer.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Email Mike now at MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.
I love you, my brother from another mother.
Thanks!